Hi, my name is Brad Dick, and I'd like to show a few of the audio features that I've created in Unreal. I've been going through the book Game Audio Implementation by Richard Stevens and Dave Raybould, so I've taken a lot of the concepts from there, and would like to show how they can be applied in a real game. This is one of the levels that was included in the book. All the sounds are either created by myself or sourced from libraries. The main ambience playing right now is from my trip to Mexico. It just happened to work quite well for this environment. The start time is randomized so that the ambience doesn't always begin at the same point. This section of the blueprint generates a random jungle creature every 5 to 15 seconds from a random location around the character. Once the random creature is finished, it re-triggers the gate. In blueprints, I use a simple flip-flop for going in and out of the small houses so that it fades out both the main ambience and the random creature. If the user presses a button here, they can open up a secret door. This also uses a gate if the player overlaps the trigger next to the button. The sound cue for the weapon puts together a number of random elements each time. I've also created a system with different footstep sounds for various surfaces such as metal, wood, stone, and water. Notify events are sent to the character's blueprint, and a line trace is sent to the ground under the character. That gets the surface type, which I've assigned different integer values. Those integers are used by a switch in the sound cue to choose different footstep sounds. These curve range macros here came with the level. Essentially, they take the controller's input access and allow you to input your own curves to affect the volume based on whether your character is creeping, walking, or running. I've also used continuous modulators in the sound cue to choose different samples for the different states. Depending on how you make your curves, you can blend between these different groups. Here is an example of the water surface. I had to create a plane at the bottom of this pool, otherwise it would just play the default sand footstep sound. Jump landings have a similar system to footsteps, they're just triggered with a different event, and as you saw in the pool, you'll hear a bigger splash if you're in water, for instance. One other feature here is if you pick up the keys item, this sets a boolean to true, and it's used to add key sounds to your footsteps and your landings. Going back to where we started, we can now enter a cave with some cave reverb applied. Gave the user some instructions over radio about where to go. I assigned this to a separate sound class so that the reverb wouldn't be applied and it would go to the center channel.
Hey, blow up that wall.
The explosion animation is a bit crude, so you'll have to use your imagination to some extent. When we come to this stone blockage, we can turn on the gas to create a bigger, more fiery explosion. The gate will set the variable gas switch to true, which is used by a branch in the rock explosion queue. This room here shows an example of occlusion. As you can see, the fall-off of the giant torch extends outside the room that it's in. I surrounded the room with audio volumes that are set to reduce the sounds of anything outside them. As you can hear, the flames are not audible from the other side of the wall. One last thing I wanted to show was some collision sounds, in cases where you're trying to avoid many multiple hits as an object hits the ground. I created a blueprint for this barrel that will play one set of sounds for higher velocity and another set for lower velocity, which is essentially when it's rolling. So when velocity is greater than 1.1, it sets the main branch as true, which then plays the high velocity sound once, and it gets reset by a random time between 0.3 and 0.6 seconds. If the velocity is less than 1.1, it stores the number of lower velocity hits in the hit count variable, and if it's greater than 4, it plays a rolling sound, which is a low metallic rumble. Once the retriggerable delay stops, it resets the hit count to 0 and fades out the rumble loop. There are more curves in this blueprint that connect to volume multipliers. It takes a lot of fine-tuning to get it right. Depending on how important your barrel sounds are to the game, you could go into more detail than this. And that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed my Unreal Audio implementation.